Democrats don't know what to do. When you don't know what to do, you get angry. And then people feel your anger and they don't want to be around you. It's something called the mood contagion. It's a real thing. And think about it from this perspective, right? You ever have somebody come to a party and they're in a bad mood and they kind of bring the whole room down? Or somebody who's one of those people that walks in a room and lifts everybody up. You love that person at your party. Can't wait for them to get there. But there's always that one person who comes in and it's a total downer and you're like, oh, you know? It's like that. And the Democrats right now, they're all downers. They're all the people that walk into the room and there's scowls on their faces. And nobody wants to hang out with somebody like that. Nobody wants to be around people who are like that in life in general. And until they're able to start, and this is the comment that I made this morning on America's Newsroom, until they're able to start with a little bit of self-deprecating humor and kind of mock some of their ridiculous positions, until they can kind of realize how dumb their ideas are, because it's not a messaging problem, it's an idea problem. Their ideas are terrible. Until they can acknowledge that, they're not going to be in a position where they're going to win. And their poll numbers are going to keep plummeting because they're so locked in on all the progressive kookery that people rejected. So they did this before, and what they did last time was to make everybody think that Donald Trump was a Russian plant and a Russian agent. Now, I got to tell you, listening to the president today, and I watched the whole press conference that he gave with the Prime Minister of the UK, and he had tough words for Putin and basically saying, like, I really can't believe it because I talked to the guy, and then a couple hours later, he's dropping missiles. Very stern words for Putin. And saying, what we want is we want peace, and Russia's got this opportunity to make all this money, but I'm giving them 10 days, and if they don't do it, if they don't stop this war, then more tariffs on them. Not exactly what your typical Putin puppet would do now, huh? Like your typical Putin puppet's not going to say, listen, 10 more days of this, and then it's tariffs, and then you're going to pay, and it's more tariffs, and this is, like, I'm done talking to you. Talk to the hand, because I'm done. Going back to Crossfire Hurricane, this whole investigation into whether or not Donald Trump was working with the Russians, and he was a Russian spy, and he was a Russian asset, and he was a tool of Putin. Going back to all this now, as all this comes out, Brennan, Clapper, Comey, the only answer that I have heard now from people like Brennan, Clapper, and Comey is that this is just Tulsi Gabbard trying to get in good with her boss. Oh, yeah, you know, Tulsi was burned on the whole Iran thing, and she was kind of on the outs, and so now she's come out with this whole Russiagate stuff, and it's all a distraction just to please the big guy, and she's just doing this to just boost herself up. Okay, all right. Let's play your silly reindeer games for just a moment and pretend that that's true. What's your explanation for CIA Director John Ratcliffe, then? What do you got on that? What's his motivation? Because if you're going to sell me the idea that Tulsi's only out there saying all this stuff because she really wants to be in Trump's good graces, and she's terrified of losing this job, and if she's not Director of National Intelligence, she's washing cars. So we may want to see that. But so, okay, fine. I'll buy that. I'll buy your little story. She came out one day and said, I'm going to drop a bomb. We've got all this intel, even though it's not my intelligence, it's the intelligence from the House Intelligence Committee, but leave that aside for a moment. I'm going to drop this bomb so that I get in good with Trump. And then I got to hope that this lasts for the next 3.5 years because I want to stay in his good graces. Because if I made all this up, he'd be really angry when it turns out that this was all made up, and I'm probably not going to be in his good graces anymore. So let's hope I can drag this out for the next 3.5 years, and I can keep fooling the House Intelligence Committee, even though it's their intelligence, not mine, and Chuck Grassley and his intelligence, it's not mine, and everybody else. Okay, fine. I'll buy that. What's Ratcliffe's excuse? What's his motivation in all this? In this little play you've concocted in your head here? Does Ratcliffe just hate it, like he doesn't like Tulsi getting all the attention? Is that it? The problem, though, is maybe that's it. Right? Maybe CIA Director John Ratcliffe woke up one day and said, Tulsi Gabbard's getting all this attention for Russiagate. I want attention. So I'm going to go on Sunday Morning Futures with Maria Bartiromo and give a 15-minute interview, and I'm going to lay it all out there for everybody to see, and I'm going to promise that there's going to be more stuff coming out. Oh, yeah? You take that, Tulsi. Maybe he's just an egomaniac who can't stand the fact that she got a lot of attention last week. Only problem is he's the one that actually got the ball rolling on this in the first place. Wasn't Tulsi. It was him. So if he's jealous of all the attention Tulsi got from his stuff that he broke when he referred Comey, Clapper, and Brennan for potential criminal prosecution to the DOJ, that's on him. But it doesn't change the fact that he was the one who first came out and announced all this stuff. So then give me another theory on John Ratcliffe. What led him to just concoct this out of thin air? Just to help his own wounded ego as the new CIA director? Like, was he so bummed he didn't get his dream job of being the director of the Central Intelligence Agency that he decided to go out there and just spread this Russiagate hoax? That he's got the goods on it? Because he wasn't named CIA director? Or maybe he just didn't want to be. And then he tried to turn him down. They were like, Ratcliffe, you're going to be CIA director. And he's like, no, hell no. And they said, no, you're going to be. We're not giving you a choice. And he said, oh, yeah? Fine. I'll be CIA director, but I'm going to get my revenge on you by pretending like I've got all this classified intelligence on Comey, Clapper, and Brennan around Russiagate. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do to get back at you people. And I'm going to go big old psych. Told you never should have given me the job. Yeah, it doesn't really. I don't think that makes much sense either. So basically, maybe what's motivating them is they really want to just expose the truth. I know it's a novel concept to these liars and crooks. I get it. I know. The T word, the truth. You mean Comey, Clapper, and Brennan? Yeah, they don't understand the T-word truth. Like, that's not a word these guys are familiar with. They are some of the biggest liars in the universe. And they thought they all got away with it, and they thought that they could beat the rap on this, but they won't even beat the statute of limitations because they were testifying 5 years ago on this stuff. As Ratcliffe explained to Maria Bartiromo on Sunday Morning Futures, that, yeah, no, the statute of limitations would still apply. We can still prosecute these guys. Yeah, we can. We can still prosecute them. Because it's within the 5 years. So, that was a question people had. It was a big question. Can we actually get them? Yes. The answer to that is yes, we can. Yes, we can. To quote Barack Obama, yes, we can. And that will be a glorious day should that come to fruition. Now, a short time ago, I was texting with my buddy Brooke Singman, who is one of the best investigative journalists out there. She really is, truly. And the story that she just broke a few moments ago, FBI's controversial Trump-Russia actions predicted with, quote, alarming specificity by foreign actors. Ratcliffe is expected to declassify the underlying intelligence, including a classified annex used in the Durham probe. But U.S. intelligence had credible foreign sources indicating that the FBI would play a role in spreading the salacious Trump-Russia collusion narrative before the Bureau ever launched its controversial Crossfire Hurricane probe. This story, by the way, just broke about 20 minutes ago. CIA Director John Ratcliffe is expected to declassify the underlying intelligence to back up that claim, including a classified annex related to former special counsel John Durham's investigation into the origins of the Trump-Russia probe. Now, this article also answers a question that's been on my mind for quite some time, which is, why didn't we get to the bottom of all this after the Durham probe ended? And the reason for that is two things. Number one, it was because John Durham was afraid they were going to politicize his investigation and then that he would be disappeared. I think he feared for his life. I really do. I think he thought he'd be killed. I'm not joking when I say that. I think he thought he would be killed. Or at least he would be disappeared into some, I don't know, Anchorage, Alaska outpost far, far away. And then what happened? Well, they stole the 2020 election. They stole the 2020 election by lying about the Hunter Biden laptop and having a lot of dead people vote. Hey, listen, if Jimmy Carter can say the 2016 election was stolen, and he did, then I can say the 2020 election was stolen. And it was, because they lied about the Hunter Biden laptop and told us it was Russian disinformation. Who did that? Comey, Clapper, Brennan, all those same people that are involved in all this stuff. All those people. They all did all that. But our foreign sources, they knew the FBI was going to go down this road because they knew that the FBI was going to help the Clintons. They knew that the FBI was going to go down this road because they knew the FBI was going to help Hillary Clinton try to win. A source familiar with the contents of the classified annex told Fox News Digital that while it may not have been exactly clear in the moment what the intelligence collection meant, with the benefit of hindsight, it predicted the FBI's next move with alarming specificity. Ultimately, the release of the classified annex will lend more credibility to the assertion that there was a coordinated plan inside the U.S. government to help the Clinton campaign stir up controversy connecting Trump to Russia. Mere days after this intelligence was collected, the FBI launched Crossfire Hurricane. It's really hard to see how Brennan, Clapper, and Comey are going to be able to explain this all away. Back in 2020, Fox News Digital exclusively reported that former CIA Director John Brennan, in the summer of 2016, briefed former President Barack Obama and administration officials on intelligence that then Democratic nominee Secretary of State Hillary Clinton was stirring up a plan to tie Trump to Russia. Why? Because of her emails. That's why. They wanted to try to distract everybody from her emails. So now John Ratcliffe, who was Director of National Intelligence at the time, he's now the CIA Director now, declassified Brennan's handwritten notes memorializing that meeting, which were exclusively obtained back in October of 2020. In the summer of 2016, John Brennan briefed President Obama on a plan, former President Barack Obama. I don't want to upset Jimmy Matthews, so former President Barack Obama, on a plan from one of Clinton's campaign foreign policy advisors to vilify Donald Trump by stirring up a scandal claiming interference by the Russian security service. Comey, along with former Vice President Joe Biden, former Attorney General Loretta Lynch, and former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper were all at this briefing. And after that briefing, the CIA properly forwarded that information through a counter-operational lead to FBI Director James Comey and then Deputy Assistant Director of Counterintelligence Peter Strzok. Mr. Strzok Peter struck. But Strzok, because, that's what Bonnie Watson-Coleman called him, the New Jersey Congresswoman. Mr. Strzok! Remember, he's the one who had the Gumata, Lisa Page. She was over at Justice. The two of them, Lovebirds, were texting each other like, I can't imagine him being president. Don't worry, sweetie pie. He won't be. We'll stop him. Just those kind of sweet nothings you say to your paramour who happens to work in the Justice Department when you're the FBI, about stopping a citizen from becoming president of the United States. I mean, who doesn't say such kind of lovey-dovey talk to their illicit romantic partner? Fox News Digital obtained and reported on this counterintelligence operational lead back in October of 2020, which stated, quote, the following information is provided for the exclusive use of your bureau for background investigative action or lead purposes as appropriate. Per FBI verbal request, the CIA provides the below examples of information the Crossfire Hurricane Fusion Cell has gleaned to date. An exchange discussing U.S. presidential candidate Hillary Clinton's approval of a plan concerning U.S. presidential candidate Donald Trump and Russian hackers hampering U.S. elections as a means of distracting the public from her use of a private email server. In the summer of 2016, these lying scumbags all knew that Hillary was concocting the whole Russia plot to distract everybody from her emails. Do you remember the phrase, but her emails? Remember that? But her emails. That was exactly what it was. They wanted everybody to stop talking about the emails and the fact she had a server in her bathroom, and it was not a secure server, and then the emails which were hacked by that third-party group and then blamed on Russia, and then everybody turned around and said, oh, you see, Russia hacked Hillary Clinton, and the Russians are doing this to help Donald Trump. That was all a narrative to distract everybody from her emails and the email server and all of the things that she was using to communicate as the Secretary of State of the United States of America, breaking all kinds of federal law in the process. So in the summer of 2016, we knew all this. Our government knew all this. The FBI knew all this. The CIA knew all this. The NSA knew all this. Every 3-letter, 4-letter agency knew this. Our foreign adversaries knew all this. What did we do? We let her get away with it. We let her do it, is what we did. That's what we did. Yeah, and we helped. We did. We turned around and helped. So hell-bent on stopping Trump that they helped. They didn't expose this. They didn't run to the cameras and go, listen, here's the deal. We don't like this guy, but he's not a Russian operative. This is all BS cooked up by the Clinton campaign to try to make you think he is, so you'll stop talking about her emails. And we don't like him, and we're helping her, but we just want to let the American people know. I mean, you do pay us. We're the FBI, we're the CIA, we're the NSA, and you have a right to know that this is all a steaming pile of BS. No, they didn't do that. They let you think that Donald Trump was a Russian asset. They would help you think that by leaking the fact that they were briefing the then president of the United States on the matter, and the media finding out about the briefing and then turning around and going, well, I mean, obviously they wouldn't brief the president if there wasn't some credence to this, right? And letting FISA judges, Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act court judges, get warrants to surveil American citizens who did nothing wrong, but certainly made it look like they did, because now you're spying on people like Carter Page and George Papadopoulos. All to stop Trump. All this was about. On July 31st, 2016, the FBI opened a counterintelligence investigation into whether candidate Trump and members of his campaign were colluding or coordinating with Russia to influence the 2016 campaign. That investigation was referred to inside the Bureau as Crossfire Hurricane. They knew he wasn't. They knew Trump wasn't. But they opened the investigation anyway. Why? To help Hillary Clinton. That's why. And now all this is going to come out. As they release all this stuff, it's going to come out. So you go and you say to yourself, well, Durham, why didn't this come out with Durham? You know what I mean? Like, why did this come out in 2020? Why are we finding out about this in 2025? It's a great question. And here's the answer that Brooke Singman gives in her article at foxnews.com. A former senior Trump official told Fox News Digital that John Ratcliffe, now CIA director, advocated for releasing the intelligence publicly then, back in 2020, but that Durham, who at the time was expected to release an interim report prior to the election, declined on the basis that it could negatively impact his investigation, which had not yet reached a determination on potential prosecutions. Durham said he wanted to preserve the investigation, but was going to release an interim report. Then he said he was afraid he'd get accused of politicization and disappeared. Now, by disappeared, I think he probably was afraid that the Clintons would kill him. The source added, thankfully, the real politicization is all coming to light now. And then you know what would happen. Mueller would come around and Crossfire Hurricane, and they would do the investigation and blah, blah, blah. Then they would appoint John Durham, and he would investigate the origins of the Crossfire Hurricane probe. Durham found the FBI failed to act on a clear warning sign that the Bureau was the target of a Clinton-led effort to manipulate or influence the law enforcement process for political purposes ahead of the 2016 presidential election. Newsflash. It wasn't that the FBI failed to act. The FBI deliberately helped act. The FBI deliberately helped Hillary Clinton push the narrative that Donald Trump was a Russian asset to distract from her emails. The aforementioned facts reflect a rather startling and inexplicable failure to adequately consider and incorporate the Clinton plan intelligence into the FBI's investigative decision-making in the Crossfire Hurricane investigation. Indeed, had the FBI opened the Crossfire investigation as an assessment and in turn gathered and analyzed data in concert with the information from the Clinton campaign, it is likely that the information received would have been examined at a minimum with a more critical eye. They didn't want to look at it with a more critical eye. They wanted to help Hillary Clinton. That's what they wanted to do. Oh, we get so much more on this. We're just getting warmed up.